After a year of saving, planning, and dreaming, I finally painted my lake cabin. It wasn't anything outrageous, just a deep forest green with cedar wood accents. A classic color scheme that blended beautifully with the pines around my property. I even got compliments from passing hikers and boaters that weekend. But of course, not everyone was a fan. Enter Karen. Karen, the self-appointed queen of the Homeowners Association, lived 3 houses down the gravel road. From day one, she seemed to watch my property like a hawk, peeking from behind her curtains, snapping photos with her phone, and casually walking by twice a day with her oversized golden retriever. I should have known she'd eventually snap. It happened on a Saturday morning. I was admiring the finished job, sipping coffee on my porch, when the red and blue lights flashed through the trees. A county sheriff's vehicle pulled into my driveway. I stood up, surprised, as 2 officers stepped out. "Are you the owner of this property?" one asked, his voice neutral. "Yes, sir." "Is there a problem?" He looked down at his notepad. "We received a complaint that you violated HOA codes by making unauthorized structural changes." I blinked. "You mean the paint?" "That's what we're here to determine," he said, clearly as confused as I was. "Do you have HOA approval?" I laughed. "You've got to be kidding. It's just paint. I didn't build a tower." Just then, Karen emerged from the woods like some HOA ninja. "Officers! Thank you for coming." I warned him, but he refused to listen. "That color completely disrupts the visual harmony of the community?" I turned to her. "Karen, there's no rule about cabin color in the charter. I checked before I bought the place." "Oh, there will be," she huffed, pulling out her phone. "And until then, you're out of compliance." The officers, realizing this was a civil issue, not a criminal one, kindly advised us to work it out and left. But I knew Karen wouldn't stop. She'd make it her mission to ruin this place for me. That's when I had a crazy idea. If she wanted to use the HOA as a weapon, what if I took it from her? After the cops left and Karen stormed back to her house, probably to update her neighborhood incident log, I sat down and started researching how HOAs work. I figured if this woman had enough power to call law enforcement over a paint job, I needed to understand exactly what I was dealing with. It turned out our HOA wasn't some massive ironclad institution. It was small, only covering about 14 properties around the lake, and it had been formed loosely over a decade ago. The original president had resigned years back, and Karen had basically stepped in and claimed the throne. No one ran against her. No one cared enough. Until now. I read the HOA's bylaws. They were a mess, outdated, vague, and full of loopholes. But they did reveal something important: votes. Major decisions, including board elections and bylaw changes, were made by majority vote of the homeowners. If I could get enough of them on my side, I could take over the HOA. That night, I printed out copies of the bylaws, drafted a simple explanation of what Karen had done, and wrote a polite letter inviting everyone to a community meeting. I even offered free barbecue and drinks to lighten the mood. Over the next week, I went door to door, shaking hands and handing out invites. Most people were friendly, and many of them rolled their eyes when I mentioned Karen's name. She tried to fine me for putting up Halloween decorations, one neighbor grumbled. Another said she called animal control over their barking squirrel dog. People were tired of her. I could feel it. When the meeting day came, I grilled burgers, set up a few folding chairs under a pop-up tent, and waited. To my surprise, almost everyone showed up. I laid out everything. How Karen had called the cops over my paint, how she had no legal authority to make new rules without votes, and how we could all fix the HOA by electing a new board. I expected resistance, maybe some awkward silence. Instead, I got applause. By the end of the evening, we had signatures from over 80% of the homeowners, enough to trigger a special election. Karen, who showed up late with a clipboard and a sour face, was not amused. "You people don't understand what you're doing," she snapped. "You're letting this man destroy our community's standards." "Karen," one of the older neighbors said, "you've been the problem, not the standards." We scheduled the election for the following week. It was time to see if my plan would actually work. The following week felt like preparing for battle. Not a physical one, though it felt that way, but a political and personal showdown. I'd gone from being just another cabin owner to leading a quiet revolution against Karen's HOA regime. Flyers were handed out, ballots prepared, and neighbors whispered support as they passed each other on morning walks. Karen, on the other hand, went full tyrant. She started patrolling the neighborhood more frequently, snapping photos of garbage cans not pulled in on time, and mailing out warning letters citing fake infractions. One family told me she threatened to fine them, $50 for using a non-approved bird feeder. Another said she yelled at their teenage son for playing music too loud during the afternoon. She was panicking, and it was showing. Election day arrived. We held the vote on neutral ground, the community center by the lake. I wore a simple green t-shirt, same shade as the cabin, and stood at the door, greeting neighbors as they arrived. Karen showed up late again. Wearing an actual blazer like this was a congressional hearing, clutching a manila folder full of notes and grievances. The voting was straightforward. Ballots listed all residents who had volunteered for board positions, me included. Karen, of course, had written her name in bold across the top with a small sticker next to it that read, "Experience Matters." It took less than an hour to count. The results? I was elected HOA president. Two other neighbors who had suffered under Karen's rule became treasurer and secretary. Karen lost badly. She only got 2 votes, hers and her dog's, maybe. As the announcement was made, a gasp rippled through the room. Karen stood up slowly, face pale, hands clenched. "This is outrageous," she hissed. "You all just handed control of our community to a man who painted his cabin like a forest fungus." I calmly responded, "No, Karen. They handed control to someone who actually likes this community and respects people's right to enjoy it." She stormed out, and I won't lie, I enjoyed every step of that dramatic exit. But I wasn't done. The new board wasted no time. We reviewed every policy Karen had imposed. Most of them weren't even properly documented. We nullified the ridiculous ones, reinstated fairness into enforcement, and, most controversially, we made one very legal, very final move. We voted to terminate Karen's HOA membership for repeated abuse of power. Since membership was required to live within the HOA community, and since her home was legally bound to HOA covenants, she had 2 options: sell the house or face legal eviction. She received the notice 2 weeks later. When Karen got the official notice from the new HOA board, she didn't believe it was real. She stormed into my driveway, waving the document like a madwoman. "You think you can evict me? I practically built this community," she shouted. I calmly stepped out onto the porch, phone already recording for my own safety. "You abused your power, harassed your neighbors, and tried to turn this into your personal kingdom." The board voted. "It's done." "You'll regret this," she shrieked before marching back to her car and peeling away, tires kicking up gravel. The following weeks were tense. Karen filed a complaint with the county. She claimed the board's vote was illegitimate, accused me of fraud, and even tried to start a petition to reverse the decision. But none of it stuck. We had followed the bylaws to the letter. Our vote was valid. Our lawyers were ready. And most importantly, the community stood behind us. Her smear campaign flopped. Nobody wanted her back in charge. Still, she didn't move out quietly. Karen delayed the process for months. She ignored official letters. She painted her front door black. She planted dead flowers. At one point, she even put up a massive sign that read, "HOA, our tyranny," right on her front lawn. The irony didn't go unnoticed. Finally, after all the legal delays, a court order backed our HOA's authority. The eviction was scheduled. I didn't show up that morning. I figured she'd cause a scene, and I didn't want to gloat. But a neighbor texted me a photo. Karen's belongings piled on the sidewalk, her dog barking from inside a moving van. She stood by the mailbox with her arms crossed, face red, jaw tight. No crowd, no support, just the quiet end of a reign no one wanted. The cabin she left behind sold 2 months later. A nice couple with 2 little kids moved in. They put up a tire swing and even asked me if their dog's barking would be an issue. I laughed. "You're fine. This place is free again." Under the new board, things improved fast. We simplified the rules, eliminated unnecessary fines, and brought back neighborhood events, barbecues, movie nights, even a fishing contest at the lake. As for me, I repainted the cabin again, this time with the help of a few neighbors. Same forest green, same cedar trim, no drama. Karen's legacy became a cautionary tale. Sometimes power doesn't corrupt. Sometimes it reveals who was corrupt all along. And in our little lakeside community, we took it back.